As is our usual habit, I will talk and then we will have a discussion. So, the Metta Sutta, which most of you will have heard before. This is to be done by one who is skilled in aims, who wants to break through to the state of peace, be capable, upright and straightforward, easy to instruct, gentle and not conceited, content and easy to support, with few duties, living lightly, with peaceful faculties, masterful, modest and no greed for supporters. Do not do the slightest thing that the wise would later censure. Think happy, at rest. Whatever beings there may be, weak or strong without exception, long, large, middling, short, subtle, blatant, seen and unseen, near and far, born and seeking birth, may all beings be happy at heart. Let no one deceive another or despise anyone anywhere, or through anger or irritation wish for another to suffer. As a mother would risk her life to protect her child, her only child, even so should one cultivate a limitless heart with regard to all beings. With goodwill for the entire cosmos, cultivate a limitless heart, above, below, and all around. Unobstructed, without enmity or hate, whether standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, as long as one is alert, one should be resolved on this mindfulness. This is called a sublime abiding here and now. Not taken with views, but virtuous and consummate in vision, having subdued desire for sensual pleasures, or never again will lie in the womb. I neglected to mention that for those of you on Zoom, if you go to the Thursday page, I think it's also on the home page, there's a link to a PDF which is the chants, certainly on the Thursday page, and you can click through and you'll see this sutta on that link, so you can read along there. So what I'm going to do now is just talk through it again and discuss. Before I get into it though, I'm going to start with a couple of stories. The first is context. This sutta is in the Sutta Nipata, which is a collection of sutras in the Pali Canon. It's part of a large collection that includes the Dhammapada and the Therigatha, which are the verses of the enlightened nuns and monks and a whole bunch of other things. The Jataka tales are in there too. So this tends to be stuff without all the Buddhist lists, but there's a whole raft of stuff in there. Accompanying the Sutta Nipata were a couple of commentaries by Buddhaghosa, who is the guy who put together, he's the Sri Lankan guy who put together the Visuddhimagga, which is kind of the Theravadan gospel from the 4th century of the Christian era, something like that, which is very doctrinal. And in his commentary on this, he's collecting together what was the vernacular of the time around it. And he starts off, he says, so there were this bunch of 500 monks who were getting ready for the rainy season, so they're off to go 3 months off into the wilderness somewhere. He said, you guys go over there, you girls go over there, you guys, you girls, everybody go to their little places, build your little huts and have at it. And for the people who had different dispositions, he gave them different objects of meditation. Some people he gave them more list and technical stuff, so like working on the hindrances for the people who are more intellectually minded. For the people who are more devotionally minded, he said he gave them keeping the Buddha in mind. And for people who are more karma oriented, action oriented, he gave them other things. And for a bunch of people he gave them the Brahmaviharas to work with. So there's something interesting in there, which is in the Pali Canon, we've got all these recognized different practices for people with different dispositions, which we don't normally bring into our practice, but it was something the Buddha actually taught. Anyway, so a bunch of these folks went off into one particular wood. All the tree spirits came out, they enjoyed it, and they thought, hang on, these guys are going to be around for 3 months. We're not, we've got to go. Let's have some fun. So they brought snakes and all sorts of things. The monks got scared, they were running back to Buddha, and the Buddha gave them this and said, go practice this, take this with you, and this will subdue all those demons. So the intention behind that statement is that practicing in this kind of way. Metta practice, Brahmavihara practice, is a pervasive practice that permeates and affects other beings. We think of it as for ourselves, and it is, but it becomes an inclusive practice and a connective practice. So I'll talk more about that as we get into it. Another story which goes to kind of the same point. This is in the long discourses, Digha Nikaya 13, for those who are interested. Somebody asks the Buddha, long list of questions, but the last question is, so somebody said that you talk about how to gain union with Brahma. Those are the words in the sutra, not my words. Union with Brahma. Again, interesting, right? This is not what we think of with Buddhism. And Buddha went through a whole list of stuff. You practice this, you do the jhanas, and then he went into the Brahma Viharas. And he said, this is how you gain union with Brahma. So this is a practice that is an absorption practice. The language about union with Brahma and about this, the way this worked in the woods, this is clearly language of absorption. Meditation, if practiced in a deep way, we enter it where we got this sense of a subject and an object. The object could be an object of our thoughts, it could be an object out here, it could just, but there's a subject and an object, and there's consciousness connecting the two of them. And deep meditation brings those two together, so there is no longer separation between subject and object. Consciousness is actually a unitary thing, if you like. Thing is probably wrong, but it's the best I can do. Consciousness is unitary and does not have subject and object. We create it with our ignorance. And these deep meditation states allow us to break through that and bring subject and object back together again. So there's no longer distinction between subject and object. So that there's no longer distinction between the meditating subject and the snakes and whatever in the woods. Of course there's connection. And union with Brahma is simply becoming that consciousness. That's all that means. Buddha nature, consciousness that doesn't land. So, this is to be done by one skilled in aims, one who wishes to break through to the state of peace. Skilled in aims. This is the Thanissara's translation. Bhikkhu Bodhi translates that as skilled in the good, I believe. But it's in the practice. It's in the Noble Eightfold Path. It's in the practice. Who wishes to break through to the state of peace, to wake up. That's Nibbana. The state of peace is Nibbana. So it's simply saying, you want to wake up and you got the basic techniques down, this is what you should be doing. This is not an if, this is not an and, this is it. This is enough, all on itself. Be capable, upright, and straightforward. Just very ethical or moral, very that'll do. It's just ethical moral behavior, right? I mean, no deceit, no ifing or anding or butting. It's just be very straightforward. Easy to instruct, gentle, and not conceited. This is just a great list of words, by the way. Just to take this list of words and hold this list of words as an aspiration. Any one of these words, and then you put them all together. But I find it interesting, you've got this person who is skilled in aims, and they're being set up to be easy to instruct, and then in the next line, easy to support. Easy to instruct. Don't be conceited, humble. Easy to support, you're already content. With few duties and living lightly. Now this was, if the context is right, and this was given to mendicant monks who are wandering off to live in the woods for 3 months, it's clearly people who have little means. They've got the four basics, you know, what is it? Shelter, food, clothing, and medicine, the four basics. But this, we can take this for ourselves too. I talked the other day we talked last week about projects, too many projects. Living lightly with few duties, right? I mean, that's what it's about. I know I've got a tendency, there's a space, so what else can I do? No, stop. With peaceful faculties, your senses. So just again, it's being calm. Calming the sense inputs, calming the sense outputs. These are gates. We feel stuff coming in, we feel stuff going out. It's be aware of the going in, be aware of the going out, and keep those calm. Modest and no greed for supporters. Be okay with whatever comes. Do not do the slightest thing that the wise would later censure. Think happy at rest. May all beings be happy at heart. There's kind of an outside and an inside element to this. Happy at rest is calming down relative to the environment. That's the way I feel this. So it's being settled in space. Happy at heart is the inside piece. May all beings be happy at heart. Happy, retreat the other day we talked about the Brahma Viharas, and the Brahma Viharas, the core aspiration of all of the Brahma Viharas is may all beings be happy. Metta, wishing happiness, clearly just wishing happiness for people. Karuna, usually translated as compassion, but it's when there is suffering, wishing for that suffering to go away. That's wishing for happiness. Mudita, joy, just being joyful and wanting joy. So it's all about happiness. Happiness is the end of suffering here. And then there's a whole series of lists of pairs. One's like 3, but there's a whole list of pairs here, which are different ways of passing the universe. Right? Near or far, blatant, subtle, born, seeking birth. This is everything. May everything be happy. So we've got the positive there, and then we've got the not the negative, let no one deceive another, etc. And then we get on to, as a mother would risk her life to protect her child, her only child, even so one should cultivate a limitless heart, often translated as boundless heart. What is a boundless heart? Open the heart up and include everything in your heart, the entire universe in your heart. And this is to be cultivated as a mother, cultivated and protected as a mother would protect her only child. This is the most precious thing. Opening up the heart to include the whole universe. Everything, everyone. Just pause and reflect on truly having a limitless heart. There's room in there for everyone and everything. There's not just room in there for everyone and everything. Everyone and everything is already in there. We've opened it up and included everybody in the embrace of that heart. That's what we're being asked to do here. That's the practice for one who is skilled in aims. That's the practice. Above, below, and all around. Above is the formless realms, the heavens, devas, asuras. Below are the hungry ghosts and the demon and the animals and hell realm. So this is everything, and all around, all the beings in this form realm. Everything, everyone. Unobstructed, without enmity or hate. Enmity and hate are just forms of obstruction. There is no obstruction to this limitless heart. It is all pervasive. desire, form, formless realms, everything's included. Whether standing, walking, sitting or lying down, as long as one is alert, one should be resolved on this mindfulness. This is, and I could have brought this out earlier, I didn't, but this is very clearly an absorption statement. This is very clearly saying, stay here. Stay unified with this heart that we're opening up, with everything we're including in this heart. Boundaries drop away. We become everything. We become one with everything. I mean, there's still differentiation within that unity. It's not this smudgy, pulpy thing. There's still differentiation and room for independent beings in there, I guess. But they're all together and we are unified with them within that. One should be resolved on this mindfulness. One should stay in this. This is called a sublime abiding here and now. Here and now, the present moment. But the present moment not understood as now I'm picking up the pen and now I'm writing something and now I'm doing this. The present moment is just what is. Just what is. This, what we're in right now, is a present moment. The space for this conversation, the space for us all to be together. This is a present moment. Present moment is, you can't really define present moment. It's not granular in the way we wish it would be. Here and now is this lived experience. A sublime abiding. Brahma Vihara. The abode of Brahma. Of Buddha nature. This is being Buddha nature. This is being awake. This is seeing through the illusory nature that presents itself every day and really experiencing reality. That's what this practice is about. It's not just about being kind to a squirrel. It's about really getting the squirrel, being the squirrel. So the left hand doesn't hurt the right hand. We're all, it's really deep. Not taken with views. There's another piece I'll read in a few weeks, which is also out of the Sutta Nipata, which is about views. Not taken with views. Not getting into dialectic discussions about taking any sides at all. Questions just put aside. Just space for everything to be what it is. And for us to be truly open and inclusive of that. But virtuous and consummate in vision. Consummate in vision, they're kind of code words for seeing past lives, seeing through karma, the fabric of karma, how things really work. That's what that's pointing at. Which again, not expecting you all to leap on the bandwagon of, I'm going to wake up and then I'm going to see all my past lives and universal karma and everything's going to all hang together. But as we move into this unitary consciousness, as we move out of our own sack of skin and bones and move into this broader awareness, we can get glimpses of what this is like. We can get glimpses of intuition with people, places, animals, and that intuition, as it deepens, that's starting to move into this space of virtuous and consummate in vision. Having subdued desire for sensual pleasures, this is non-attachment, I guess. recognizing, not just recognizing that sensual pleasures end in suffering, but having recognized that so deeply that they're no longer interesting. It's not just that I recognize if I have that bowl of ice cream, I want another one, and then I'll either just get bloated and sick, or I'll end up upset because I've got to stop eating this stuff. It's getting to the place where it's just not interesting anymore. What is interesting is life, for want of a better word. But the sensual pleasures are just not interesting anymore. And this is, I think all of you, or many of you I will say, as we engage in our practice, we find things becoming less interesting. Many people we've talked about, just turn off the radio in the car now because it's just not interesting. And this is taking that to further on down the line. It's just, stuff is just not as interesting. One never again will lie in the womb. This is obviously pointed at rebirth, reincarnation, and not coming back. You know, my job is done. This is the last birth. But again, so many of these things are much more subtle than they seem. This is not, I'm out of here, guys and gals. This is, I am no longer this. I am this. All of this. It's not really an I anymore, but consciousness is all of this. So the very idea of another becoming, another coalescing into something that suffers doesn't compute. Doesn't mean lack of compassion, doesn't mean lack of engagement in the world. It's just the idea of a recoalescing into an existence that will move around and suffer and cause suffering just no longer computes from there.